Hey everybody, it's Mark Schultz here with Digital Aircraft, and I am very super excited to be with you today. We have a live discussion and a live broadcast today that is really going to be interesting to you. Let me say really quickly what it is. Listen, for my entire career, in over 30 years, we've seen what a challenge there is with keeping track of records and keeping track of digital, and that's been a main core proposal really my entire career, my entire life. And today, I'm going to be introducing somebody as a back aviation and maintaining aircraft, but also now helping us come into the world of digital aircraft into records. And we're going to talk about this together with blockchain. And this is going to be really super interested, and I want you to be able to see this today. So stand with me and let's be here today. Let's watch this. Yeah, I have here today my good business associate, Luis Santos. Luis, I'm so very, very happy to have you with us. Why don't you come on in and let's have a conversation today.
Hi, Mark. Hi, everybody. Hope you're doing a great day. Um, Thanks for watching us in the first place.
Yeah, it's really going great. I'm really looking forward to it. I know we have a lot of people that have proposed to join the event today. We've had almost 200 people sign up for the event on LinkedIn, and it's actually quite a bit for this kind of a topic. So what that tells us, Santos, is a lot of people very interested in what you're going to help us understand today. So hey, maybe you could just tell us really who you are and what do you do?
Well, my name is Luis. I'm from Portugal, currently in Lisbon. I worked for aviation for about well, actually, I lost count, roughly 15, 16 years, more or less. I start with a couple of operators in Air Luxor and Aero Atlantic. I was dealing mostly with airworthiness tasks and also AOGs, of course, and doing some kind of assignments in line and base maintenance when the aircraft was on this ongoing task. Then I moved to Spain, to Getafe, Madrid, for working for Airbus. So I spent there, I don't know, well, like 5, 6 years more or less. I worked for Airbus military, Airbus civil aircraft airplanes, everything more or less related to design and maintenance of their products, and then returned back to Portugal, to Lisbon, and worked for an MRO called OGMA. Well, my daily duties was to ensure the ongoing maintenance and help the technicians on the ongoing maintenance, approve non-routine jobs, making the repairs, ensuring the paperwork, basically like this. And then, for a couple of years ago, I'm also teaching in Isaac Lisboa in a big university here in Lisbon, everything related to aviation and aviation sciences and management.
Yeah, so you have a tremendous amount of background and experience, in aircraft and aircraft maintenance. That's really pretty exciting. And then you also went into the university and did some further study, and you're actually back helping in the university, teaching it to people as well, right?
Right, right. And it was also quite nice for me because as a teacher, I need to know well the business itself, how everything rules, all of course all the regulations and what are the backbone of aviation, and pass that information to the students. So it is very very grateful for me for to have this opportunity, and also to make research. And within this research, we can focus on several topics. My favorites are IT related, but I have other like, involved more mathematics and physics knowledge to develop. But my favorite topics for research are aviation related.
Yeah, no, that's really very interesting, and I'm really quite excited to know about your background and your engagement, because you and I are both really into this, or into aviation. We're into maintenance of aviation, and we're into really just how do we help digitize that and change. Hey, Luis, let me quickly reach out to our audience. I see we have just a lot of people connected right now, and hey, I just wanted to suggest that it's always good for us to be able to tell people about what's happening. And so if you have a moment that you could actually reshare this right now, when we're live, that's always a big help. It helps get things out. And the other thing is, I'd really like to know where people are watching from. It's always fun for me to ask people to just go out and comment and just tell us where you are. Just say hi and let us know where you're coming from in the broadcast. Also, remember, we're going to be asking questions during this broadcast, and so it'll be a good thing, to be able to reach out to people. So you can keep in mind also what it is you're thinking about for questions. That's good. So thanks for doing that. I see we have some people coming from different countries. Let's see, we have Daniel. I'm not sure where he's from. Maybe you could put that up and see if maybe he says, it says where he's from there. And then we have another one that says LinkedIn user. And let's see, we got that one, and it says nice and interesting. Oh, well, Daniel, it just doesn't say where he's coming from. And then we have Dean's. We've talked lots on the internet, and very interesting. And we're going to be looking forward to having this conversation, about that. So very good. Well, listen, let's jump right in, because I want you all to be interested, and we'll stop again for some questions, in a little bit. But hey, put it out there, who you are, where you're from. We'll pay attention to you, and we'll also stop at some point in time for questions. Hey, listen, Luis, I want to start with this. Is that I always like to start with, what kind of problems, are people having in the industry that we should really be thinking about? I'm not talking about the solutions right now. I'm really talking about, what are the business challenges we have in this area of records and of digital, connecting together. I'd like to know your opinion on those things.
Well, there are a lot of challenges. So basically, the main challenge are the digitalization itself. So people are using multiple sources of information, and these multiple sources of information that live and are prone to several errors. So we need to keep track of the original information. And from my experience, in maintenance, in the operators and in the MRO, operators and aviation as a whole is not agile to do that. So we still rely much on paperwork and spreadsheets and any other types of documents. And of course, there are the ERPs, and the ERPs are quite a valuable tool, but people, and namely sometimes engineering, sometimes planning, they adapt the data to their usage, and this might also lead to problems and to misinformation. It was currently almost daily for me to, while on the MRO, to keep receiving tasks in all day until the last day of the airplane. I was receiving tasks because they were detected another task that had to be done. The other day, the same thing. So something is not right on how companies deal with this whole amount of information, and asking people, and they were quite honest for me, and they say that they have so much information in paper in several other digital systems that sometimes they lose track of what is the correct and what is not the correct. And when they have questions, they say repeat the task, and they lost thousands of euros doing that. So for me, seems not right. So there must be one system that can ensure the immutability and traceability of all the information. So it was then that I say that, well, we need to think about this. We need to get a solution to get this.
Well, Luis, this is just, such a problem we've had for many years. I think I may have shared this to you at one time, but, I was about 17 years old, and I had only available to me, FAA paper documents. And I called up a friend of mine who ran a computer company, and I said, "What is there any way to put these things into digital and get them available to people, because it would be so much easier?" Now, that evolved into, for many, many years, and we're talking 40 years, where all we've focused on is paper, 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 paper. And I work with vendors, I work with MROs, I work with airlines, and in many cases we have errors or we have missing documents, and because they're managed in paper. And the big challenge that we find is that we go from managing in paper to putting them into PDF, and so it just really becomes just a stack of paper in PDF is what it is. And so the kind of thing which you're talking about has just really been a big challenge for many, many, many years. I mean, so I understand, the challenges that we're talking about here, and it affects many, many people. So it's very, very respectful. Hey, I wanted to call out a few people. We have a lot of people that I've just wanted to I'd like to recognize people along the way, because I know you're watching, but Bernard up there at the top, he says he's coming in from Switzerland right now. That's great. Out in that region. We have Sean, who's coming in from Houston, or we have him coming in from Houston. And then we have Neil, who says he's coming in from the Isle of Man. Where's the Isle of Man? Manhattan, maybe? Or
it belongs to UK.
Oh, to the UK. All right. Okay. I didn't know the short word of man. So I knew we had a lot of people coming in from the US. And let's see, we have Danny coming in from Rwanda, and we have Emmanuel coming in from France, and we have Turkey, and let's see, then we have Venezuela and India. And so what's really always exciting, Luis, about doing this is that we have people really that are interested in this topic really all around the world. And so when they're joining, that it's people want to, hear some bit on this. Now, what they'll do is really up to their own decisions, but it's always good for people to be, sharing knowledge and understanding knowledge and being part of that. So just those of you out there, if you want to throw your name up there, we'll mention, who you are and where you're coming from. But I really like to know that people are watching. It's really, really good. So let's see, we have one more that just come up before I jump off from the British Islands. Oh, more people as well from the UK. We have Neil, and we have Kid Shane coming in from the UK, but Kitshore. I really, really appreciate that. And for those of you watching, it's just really interesting to see so many people, that we can reach our hands out to. So listen, we talked a bit about the problems and the challenges really that are in the industry. And, if I wrap it up in my own mind, we just have difficulty maintaining control. We have difficulty of actually making things easily accessible. How do we maintain authenticity? All those different things. And so I thought maybe we could, for a minute, take a look at what some of the challenges are, really that are out there. And you shared this with me on this screen here, is that we're dealing with records alteration, maybe fake parts, cyber, attacks that exist, digital inefficiency, missing logs. And so my question really to you is that what's the starting point? Let's get into a little bit of detail in a minute, one specifically what your company is doing, but what are the kind of things that people can be doing to be able to address these kind of challenges that exist in the industry at a high level right now?
Well, regarding the things that the industry must start to think urgently, and I think will be the biggest challenge for the coming years is the artificial intelligence. I was playing a couple of days ago with one image generator that exists nowadays, and I just after 5 minutes I could make a quite reliable Form 1 for a part that I gave a specific time. That part does not exist. That part number does not exist. That serial number does not exist. But there is a reliable document sitting on my computer. So this is one of the biggest challenge that we have in the upcoming years is to say what is legit and what is not legit. We will be flooding with information, and we need to know which one are legit and not legit. And so we need to address all this all together. So records adulteration, fake parts, cyber attacks, digital inefficiencies, missing logs, everything is going up almost up to the same solution. We need to build a platform that can ensure traceability and immutability of our records. So this is basically the key challenge for the industry, because
Yeah.
there are a lot of records lying on paper, lying in multiple ERPs. In a couple of years, we need to think if those records are still reliable, if they didn't suffer any sort of attack, because hackers, they figured out that the data in aviation worth a lot, and they are attacking the industry uh, almost daily to get revenue from this attack. So we need to protect ourselves. We need to protect our records, because if we don't have records for our aviation parts, aircraft, they will be grounded, and the industry will lose a lot of money in this process. So we
Yeah.
need to be agile to ensure all this.
Yeah, Luis, the part that always has been so difficult for me, the struggle is that, we have all these, just like what's up on the screen right now, we have all these paper records out there, and either they're complete or they're not complete, and they're accurate or they're not accurate. They don't necessarily keep track of whether something is a valid part or whether it was taken off of a invalid aircraft and there's no proper history. And listen, I've seen airlines that have gone to return aircraft to a leaseholder, and they needed to put millions of dollars in because the records weren't in proper process. And so, there's just so many challenges that we're faced with. And I guess the next question I kind of want to ask you, from here, and is in detail on how we sort that out. So what I want to first ask you, watching today, is if you have a question for us during this next process, because we're going to spend a little bit of time about how people sort that out. I'd really like to see that, because I have this chance of having Luis on the line with us and put him to the test and ask him really hard questions. And so if you have a hard question, let's put it out there and see what he has to say. But yeah, exactly. And so let's go to the next part of our conversation, that we're going to have here. And there's another slide right after that. And on this slide, we're going to talk a bit about solutions. And what I'd like to know is that when you have all these problems you and I have talked about, Luis, if we could just break this up into a few pieces, because I want to be able to ask you a few questions in between. So, maybe just keep it short and we'll go to the next and then the next and the next. But just help me understand what's the solution to try to solve this challenge we have with us out there in the industry of paper today.
Well, we basically build a solution that ensures the traceability and immutability of the records. So the industry just grab information, use our platform. Our platform encrypts that information because that information is sensitive to that company, and we'll put it on the blockchain. So nobody else on the world are able to see that information, only the owner of that information. And when doing so, the user that placed that information on the blockchain will receive a digital certificate. It's like a digital Form 1 of that piece of information. It's unique, and you can trace that piece of information to the end of the life of the component, of the part. During a phase out or a phase in, you can group all that information and do the handover to the new owner or to the lessor. And basically, this is done in a few clicks. It's done in minutes, and not in a very burdened process of all the digging and all the navigating in the maze. What is aviation records? So this is quite clean. So while doing so, and the objective was to build a platform that ensures immutability and traceability from day zero, we came up with quite extra benefits that users can have in our platform. So basically, you can do some reliable digital twin, because that digital twin will evolve with the operational of the components of or the aircraft. We'll ensure data security because if for example, a system is attacked, we provide a decentralized system with no single point of failure. So if even your system is compromised, your information is safe and secure, and we can ensure that it's immutable over there. Then about the record's immutability and the traceability, we can also ensure from day zero up to the end of the life of the airplane, the engine, the part whatsoever. And also, we also made the quite important tools to people send information within the platform. So I came across with several examples
Luis, let me just ask you about the first part of this before we kind of move on to the next part, because I want to really make sure I understand this. Is that people are generally at the beginning having necessary to be able to accurately capture the record and then just to be able to save it. We're not even really keeping track of whether it's complete or comprehensive or whether it's come from somewhere altered. Right at the beginning, you're basically just to provide an environment or a platform where things can be saved and it can be basically stored within, a digital secured environment blockchain, for them, right? Is that a correct assessment of the situation?
Yes, plus the ability to track where that part of that information travels from day zero to the end of the life. If they change operator, for example, all the information and all the traceability goes on with that operation. For example, if I have an airplane that goes from company A to company B, opening an engine, for example, it said that that airplane already belongs to company A, but is currently on company B. So this is quite useful to perform tasks that people, for sure, they know about, which is the back to birth. So we spend a lot of time doing the back to birth or the traceability from day zero, and we do that in seconds instead of like
Yeah.
days.
So basically what we're doing is we're giving an environment where it gives it easier ability for someone to be able to have an environment where they can save the comprehensive records. They're safe and secure, and then they're verified, that they're completely verified with, security processes through blockchain. That's great. So let me move on to another piece of this. There's a couple of other pieces that are just really, very difficult for me to kind of understand. I know that you have gone through the process of verifying, parts, for example. How is it that you're using a system like this to be able to compare that, hey, this aircraft came off of a, off of a part or off of an aircraft that maybe isn't properly documented or has proper history, and now it's been on an airplane, you don't have the proper documentation. How does something like this help you in solving that kind of a problem?
Well, if I properly understand your question, I think the system what allows is to pick a specific part, pick a specific maintenance data, pick a specific any sort of detail for the aircraft or for the component, and trace it back for where it came. So if someone tries to introduce some legit component or the aircraft with no history, we are able to see if that component has no history. And because if that component has no history and is not issued by an aircraft manufacturer, for example, or a component manufacturer, this component is illegit. So it's quite easy to perceive that on the platform. So companies can track back and forth their components, the maintenance that they had, where they came from, bulletins, ADs that they perform on them. So everything can be attached to a specific company. Because if you are familiar with blockchain, so every piece of information is an NFT, and an NFT is like a digital certificate, and you can group several digital certificates in an engine, for example. And each digital certificate can correspond to a maintenance, can correspond to a component inside, and you can easily see each one of them and the history that they have.
So Luis, I guess what you're kind of telling me is that you're capturing, valid information that can be used in order to be able to do assessment and determination. And so, whereas before, when it was on paper and just sent as a piece of paper onto a PDF, you didn't have this kind of data and available, really there. And so, what you're doing now is you're providing a location where actually capturing the information, being able to compare it and evaluate it, it helps you to be able to determine what the current situation is. So that really makes really good sense, to me. Hey, I'd like to potentially move to the next question about blockchain. We had another slide that we had, which gave us sort of a kickoff or an introduction into it. And so what I was hoping that you could maybe do is sort of take me into this conversation around this slide, which really looks at some really critical, challenges and problems, and dealing with safety and compliance, and really dealing with data security and efficiency. And so, can we maybe start down this and help us understand how an approach like this is going to give you, better safety and compliance, and then maybe we'll go from there to data and security. Maybe we just start with that, the safety and compliance part.
Yes. While doing building the platform, I came across with some questions, which was, hey, do you think that the problem you are solving have economic benefit? And I was thinking only on the operational side and making the life easier for everybody. And that scratched my head and say, well, let's try to check if someone already made the math for me. And basically, I came across with that information. That information comes from reliable sources like the FAA, IATA, Eurocontrol. So basically, when we are dealing with unreliable records and adulteration, being the adulteration volunteer or accidental, only in US annually is spent $10 billion with this problem. I
Wow.
think this
a lot.
I think
Yeah.
this is a big issue. The use of fake or unreliable parts, besides all the safety concerns that causes to the aircraft and to the passengers and to the operators, also have an economic impact. It's around $6 billion annually, and only again in the United States. And I came across also with a number because it depends on which type of airplane we are dealing with. But I came across with a figure that the entire logs of an airplane, including engines, APUs, landing gears, well, everything, worth almost or up to 50% of the value of the airplane. So these numbers are quite big. So if I have an airplane, if I have a business around aviation, and the records worth so much, so my first concern was protect them, protect them. I need to protect them because if I lose the records, if my records got hacked, if my records, that my server burns up, something, my 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 asset, my aircraft worth 50% less. So this is
so many, there's just so many, so many dollars involved by the impact of this. Just a few weeks ago, I went to a conference and I spoke with a gentleman who owns and holds, engines, and they lease them out. And this is really sad, but he doesn't ask people to maintain and manage records. He says, when I get the engine back, it has to be right, or you have to pay me to make it right. And so, he gets an engine back, and if you haven't taken time to properly assess and manage records, okay, basically what happens then is that they do that, and then they basically charge you, an extra, $2, $3, $4 million when you get an engine back. And it just is amazing to me that we haven't taken better control over our records and management of our records, and it's happening, everywhere, all around the world. Hey, listen, before we go on to the next topic, I have one question that came up. by Neil Ferns. I thought maybe we could put that up on the screen, and maybe you could just answer it for me. It says somebody will need to review shop visits prior to the information being uploaded. So do you have any thoughts on how somebody can, better review information, in advance, or how does this something that using a solution like this can actually help somebody do something like that?
Well, the human factor in our platform is still valid. So basically, our platform is a modular solution. We have the model for maintenance, we have the model for airworthiness, we have the model for authorities, manufacturers, operators. So when a maintenance organization puts some information on the blockchain and share it with the customer, we start building an history of that. And so the information that comes with the history, or the information that comes from the maintenance organization can have some sort of mistake. This thing happens even today in paper, in Excel. The problem is that people change things and don't track the changes. This is mandatory by regulation. So in blockchain, we do this quite well. So if someone made a mistake, you upload a new information, link to the information sent previously, and you can see that information evolving, and you can add some extra additional information, what was changed, by whom, and that keep track of the traceability of amendments. I think this is the correct sentence that is written on the regulations. So we need to ensure the traceability of amendments, and we do that quite well with blockchain. So we don't erase any information. We are unable to do that with this type of technology. What we do is place additional information saying that previous one is not valid, this one is valid, and we link that to the previous information to build the history.
Luis, thanks for answering that question. It kind of leads us into the next conversation I wanted to have on this screen. Is one of the challenges that we have today. You used a couple of words. I just like to be blunt. Okay. You used a couple of words that sometimes people are saying, oh, I don't know if I understand that or if I should be using it. And you used the word, blockchain, and you said that there's some NFT involved. All right. And today, what a lot of people say is they say, I don't know how that meets my needs for digital, and so I'd like for you, if you could, a little bit in this data security efficiency, talk a little bit about that and how blockchain fits in and how this is just part of the process, because I think many times people don't completely understand when those words are being used, what's really happening. Okay. And it becomes just a component, or is it something different than that? So if you could just start out in this data and security and blockchain and NFT, and how does that fit into this solution to solving these problems?
Well, I give a very I used to say a very good joke, that is, blockchain for sure was created by someone with background in aviation, because all the properties that blockchain can give are the ones that are asked in aviation regulations. So to explain everybody in quite simple terms. Imagine a system that you place information. That information does not disappear. That you cannot change that information ever. And every time you need to update the information, you need to add another block correcting the previous information, and both will be available to see what is the traceability of amendments that are required by the regulators. So this is basically blockchain. An NFT is the way how information is placed on the blockchain itself. Okay, so an NFT, we can make it unique. We make it unique. So, and it's like the Form One. So when you buy a component, a wheel, for example, you have a Form One with a part number and a serial number, and that is unique. So this is our NFT. So we place that information into a digital certificate similar to a Form 1, and that is your certificate of information. So that information is unique, is yours, and you can send it to someone else when you hand over the component, you hand over the airplane. It's that is that this simple.
Yeah. Okay. So, Luis, I just want to ask this question: is that I know that I personally have been involved in, into digital transformation for many years. I've been working blockchain for 5 or 6 years at least. I did my first webinar on blockchain about 5 years ago, and I also know the NFT market. Now, someone who doesn't maybe completely understand that, their understanding today might be, oh, NFT is a picture of a monkey, and you buy it and the money goes up because of that, and it's just not the technology. It's like saying I bought a database and I put a record into it and we programmed around it, and it's just not the same thing. What you are doing is you're actually taking a vehicle which has information saved into it and putting it into a blockchain infrastructure, and I don't care what you call it, you're basically using those as very stable elements to execute these solutions you're talking about. Did I say that correctly?
Yes, quite correctly. I'd like to compare the NFT to a Form 1. It's unique,
Okay.
and it's a piece of information that is unique, and that we have information, data inside an NFT that is belongs to someone, and you have a number on that NFT, and you can trace that NFT.
Okay, very good. I just think that's the important part for people to understand and not misunderstand. And I think people could reach out and ask more questions on how this technology works, at another time. But let me go to the next topic that I want to share with people is that people are asking, well, how do I access this kind of information? What is it really? How do I really get to it? And use the information. We have a quick slide which you created, which a little bit better explain that. Maybe we could just let me ask you about how somebody would actually use a situation like this. Could you just explain what we're looking at here right now?
On the screen we have a print screen from one of our customers. I put in black the sensitive information, but over there is information about some uh, some data about an aircraft. There is a big number, which is the transaction hash. That is basically the ID for the Form 1. So this is unique. It's like a Form 1 for this information that goes back to the issuer. So with this information, with this piece of data, we can go back to the Explorer and see to whom belongs, what was the life that this information had, to who belonged, and basically you have all that data. But let me tell you a funny, well, actually it's not so funny, but let me tell you the story about the company that is that we are seeing. So we are working already with a camo organization. This camo organization is just manage the maintenance for the several companies, and one of the companies uh, previously was not managed by them. They were hired after this incident that I'm going to talk about. That airline had a couple of planes, was a small airline, and they had an audit from their authority. And what they found out was the information that they have on their system was different from the information that they have on paperwork, was different from the information that they have on engineering, and still different from the information they had on planning. So that information didn't match for a specific case. The authority extends the audit, and just they figured out that the information for both their airplanes, they had a lot of bugs in it. So they basically didn't know what was the exact information were, and they involved a lot of digging, and the authority just suspended the operator certificate of that company until they solved that information. So
Yeah.
this was a very serious case for that company. That company then hired this camo that is working already with us, and they put everything, start putting everything up on the blockchain within with our solution. When they put everything up, all the traceable information on our system, they were again audited by their authority, and they just found out that they even spared time within the audit because everything was there and traceable, and uh, everything was quite smooth, and they recovered the operator certificate, and they are now flying and using our platform to do this some sort of management.
Yeah, that's good news. That really is. Hey, Luis, I wanted to summarize two things, and then a question came up. So the reason I want to summarize it is because the question came up, right? Is number one, is that you've talked about how to better control, manage, and access the digital, and with some of the data of it. And then second of all, you talked a little bit about how that evolves into the usage of blockchain and the usage of things like even NFTs to be able to do that. Now, I wanted to throw this question up. If we could just put that on the screen real quick by Dennis, if we could do that. So the reason I'm putting this question up is because I've actually done a lot of work with him, or he actually, let me rephrase that. I haven't done a lot of work with him, but he's attended a lot of our broadcasts that we've done, and he's very knowledgeable in blockchain and focuses on that. And so he has obviously a good detailed understanding of it. And so somebody who has a detailed understanding of that is asking difficult questions. And so I'm just going to put it up in front of us and have you, respond to that, because people want to understand, how does this, fit together? Do I really understand what it is that you're doing? So it really just says here that, I think there's a challenge to using blockchain and NFTs, as a database. Maybe that's not the right word. Maybe, I'm not the expert, you are, and maybe that's not the right word. Which blockchains do you use? The data just stores on servers most of the time. So maybe you could just answer some of his questions here to help somebody who really understands blockchain, sort of how that fits into the solution that you're talking about.
Yeah, Dan is absolutely correct. So blockchain is not a database at all. Blockchain is, well, I'd like to call it a framework or a network which can be used to store sensitive and important data. So it does not is not the mean to save anything on or everything on the blockchain. So we have some strict policies, and we give a lot of training to the people that are using this. So basically, it's quite easy. So everything which is airworthiness related is important. We put it on the blockchain. But actually, we did some sort of tests in the beginning. So we make an entire phase in of an airplane, and we're talking about a civil airplane, and it costs fractions of dollars per transaction. Each transaction contains thousands of records, so it's basically it's also cheap. It's manageable to do so in large volumes. But of course, blockchain is not a database. So basically, what we say at sensitive data goes to the blockchain, which is not sensitive or important data still lies on the aviation or the company's databases. So this is quite easy to understand, and people who do airworthiness management, they really know this. So this is they know how to do it quite well, and we didn't have any problems with that.
Well, let me ask
The
you a question. So
blockchain,
I think you've made a really good response to that first part, which says, listen, the guy who running this show here used the wrong word, database. All right. And I only kind of did that to sort of help people understand, a little bit, because it's a little hard to understand things sometimes. Okay. But a guy who really understands and knows blockchain is saying, what are you doing? But the next part of it says, is that how does blockchain really fit into what you're doing? So maybe you just answer that next piece first, then we'll go to another one. But so what is blockchain really doing, what you're doing in there today?
so basically is what I told you about. We put some information regarding to airworthiness information that need to be traceable and place it on the NFT. And we can make thousands of records in a single NFT. So this is pretty manageable. We use a pretty impressive blockchain to do that. We use nulls to do that, and the way we do that allows us to compress the data into this NFT, and we have thousands of NFTs issued with the airworthiness data, and we didn't have a major impact on the network itself.
Yeah. Okay. And then I think the last part of the question I wanted to make sure it was clear or answered is I have worked with a number of companies that are doing things, kind of similar to this, right now, not a lot, but there's a few of them that I've talked to out there, and they don't go back to saying, where's the metadata just stored on servers? There's multiple different ways that you can execute this. Why is it that you decided to have metadata that was attached to an NFT that's part of this solution? What should someone think about when you say that?
That's a really good and important question. So in the beginning, we were thinking when designing the solution, we were thinking about cloud mixed with blockchain. Then what we had with after some sort of experiments, and we will design this as a total foolproof. This means that when we were placing a file, for example, on the cloud, and try to place like an identifier to that file on the blockchain, uh, then if I go there, I can erase the data, erase the file, and can lose the information. And this was part of what we were trying to solve. So let's figure it out a way to compress the data and use this in the blockchain. And we managed to do that. And also that data is encrypted, and it's quite manageable. So we are talking about thousands and thousands of maintenance data in 100 kilobytes mostly.
Yeah. There's just a lot of challenges here, and there's a lot of questions that people, have had. And, I'm sure that this, but when I'm not as deeply into implementation, well, I mean, I've been involved in and around, blockchain and NFT and, many ever different solutions. And I've seen a lot of people that are doing those in a lot of different areas, not just records. Okay. Is that there's a lot of people out there that don't completely understand, it. All right. And so what we found is that we had a tremendous amount of people which reached out on this broadcast we're doing today. And like I said, we had about 200 people sign up for it today. And, I've had some of that much in the past, but not quite as much. And so we actually have, I've actually offered to Luis to enter a follow-up session next week. And in that session for next week, what he's going to do is he's going to get down a little bit one level deeper next week. And what we're going to do is I'm going to try to help those of you which might have seen something at a kind of a high level today and say, well, that's kind of interesting. I have a parts challenge. I have things which go back and it's missing records, or I don't know how to completely do a better job of staying in front of that. And I paid back money on aircraft and engines. If you've had that at a high level and records have become a potential optimization of your records process can be a potential way of improving that, then we're going to do another session next week. And I just decided to do that because I had so many people that have reached out. And Luis, thanks for offering to take on that follow-up session next week. But there's a couple other things we're going to say. But before I do that, I want to say if you have any more questions, there's still an opportunity yet to add some details today. And then next week, we're going to come back and get in at a lower level of detail. So if you learned some things today that you want to learn more about, then next week on Wednesday next week is when we're going to be doing another session. But let me just say this, is that I really believe that I think on the next slide here that we have, I know this is kind of high level, but I just wanted to throw it up there and just comment to that is that, I like Lewis's attitude. He's been in aviation for many years. He's actually, a PhD. He's teaching people to learn things, in the industries, and he's really interested in transforming your aviation records management and helping to implement digital. And so I really think that if you'll come for another session next week and hear more, I think you'll really find it interesting, because many times he gets into things at a really detailed level, and some people just want that. So I wanted to invite you to do that. But I really do believe that you guys really are ready to transform your aviation record management. So I thank you for that, Luis.
Thank you. We are doing our share.
Yeah, looks like you are. Yeah, looks like we have a couple questions. Denise answered, and he said, "Thanks for answering the detail." Because he appreciated further detail. That's really good. We do have one more question. Let me see if we can see if we have one more we can put up before we try to start wrapping things up. Let's just put that up there and just see if we can just look at it real quick. So basically, we have all of the airlines are operating at a more digital platforms in the storage of all documents that they are training, and that their employees on the platform. And as far as the lease concerned is considered, operations provide hard copy and soft copy of the documents, and lesser per the lease and return the contract. Okay, so bottom line, what I'm hearing them basically saying is that this is a pretty common practice, and which we know that is that we have many people requiring them coming back in paper or in digital. Let me just say this: it wasn't that long ago. It has been a couple of years ago now, but a couple of years ago, I was asked to help somebody with an aircraft that was being returned from the operator, operational status into the back to the leaseholder, because they were going to lease it to somebody else. It was out of the country and coming back to the U.S. And I showed up, and they had hundreds and hundreds of boxes of paper, and it's unbelievable, because I myself and about 5 or 6 other people spent about 5 months reviewing documents for completeness and comprehensiveness, and digitized all of them and put them into a system. All right. And this is an extremely difficult challenge, and a lot of work that was done. And so I agree with what you're saying here is that having digital platforms of the documents really is an impressive thing to really be able to do. And I just wanted to know if you had any comments about this from your perception. Luis, how do you feel about somebody in these comments?
Yeah, it's pretty simple to explain. When you are handing over an airplane, within our platform, you are handing over the documents, let's call it that way, the information that it's under that specific airplane. And while handing over that data, the data that you are handing over, it's not only yours. It's from the MROs that you did your maintenance. It's from the airports that you landed. It's from the airworthiness organizations that manage that information. It's from authorities that supervise that licenses or that certifications. So when handing over that information, the owner of the NFT, of the people that issue that NFT, issue that digital certificate, goes along. So the lessor who are receiving that is not receiving the information from you. It's receiving the information from you, from the authority, from the maintenance organizations, from the airworthiness organizations. So they will have visibility of who that information belongs.
Okay, so I want to really simplify this question. Is that for somebody maybe that doesn't have as in-depth understanding of all of this as like you and experts, is that we look at this and we say, hey, listen, I got to give people paper and digital, and digital might just be PDF. All right, so doing something more sophisticated is going to help me. Why? Just tell me why this is a better idea than just giving somebody a full list of paper and of PDFs.
Who issued that paper? Who issued that PDF? That's all the question. Is that the value that is written on the PDF is correct? Was not erased by time, or was not. Many things can happen. And when putting all that information together, the probability of losing something or mistyping something That is a very common error when we are putting information back in systems, mistyping something. So we eliminate that error also because the information is only placed once, and just that information is traveling with the airplane and the owners of that airplane. So the probability of mistyping something along this entire life cycle of the airplane or parts of engines is quite low.
Yeah, well, very good. I think there's a lot of different, further deeper considerations, but I think the bottom line is what you're telling me is that, having easier ability to be able to manage, create, maintain that information that's necessary is a very important part, and to maintain its validity. And one of the reasons that I've seen that being so important is because people have paid, so much money when they're returning engines and aircraft because records weren't complete or comprehensive or validated. And it's really very, very, impactful from a financial standpoint. So
Yeah,
very good. Yeah,
and
go ahead.
one operator once paid almost $500,000 to do all the repairs again because they lost all the paperwork for the repairs.
Yeah, yeah.
Manageable.
Very good. Very good. Hey, listen, I wanted to thank all of you for attending with us today. And Luis, your knowledge on this has been very, very impressive. And I really appreciate that. And there's a lot of people that have said, hey, I need to learn more. So we're going to go ahead and wrap up this session. And I just wanted to tell people that they potentially, can go, if you wanted to right now, you could go to Earhart and you could take a look at their website. You could reach out to the company specifically. There's their email down on the bottom of that screen. Either of those things. But I have so many people that when they learn a little bit from just the things that we broadcast here, it ends up becoming a very, very valuable exchange. And so because I had so much interest, we're going to go ahead and do that again next Wednesday. So we're going to put it out there, the time and schedule and the date and everything, but it'll be next Wednesday. And I appreciate you being here with us today. It's really very valuable. Luis, I appreciate it. Just for a moment here, the email that's up there, is that up there?
Yeah, it was
Yep. Okay. Yeah, there
was
you
on
go.
the screen.
Yep. So there, just make sure that that you have this email. It's team singular at Earhart.dev. And if you need to reach out, you can go ahead and reach out to them. Very good. Hey, before I sign off and tell you go, I wanted to say something quickly about the company. Hashtag Digital Aircraft is involved with a lot of different companies in a lot of different areas. We have many different ways to be able to access our content and our information. And one of the reasons that we have so many people accessing us is because I've done 1,000 of these live web broadcasts over the last couple of years. And a very large portion of them have been saved in these different locations on LinkedIn or on YouTube or things like that. And so if you're interested in going out and taking a look at some of that, you can, or if you want to get in touch with me, you can reach out, to me via email or a lot of other different ways. And so I want to thank you for watching today. Hey, but before I wrap this up, I have to ask you a question, Luis. I usually do this to people is that why are you so interested in digital for aviation? What is appealing to you personally? Why do you want to be involved in digital in aviation?
Because I try to make my answer quite simple. I suffer a lot in the industry with all these problems, so I need to figure out a solution for this. So I adopt a methodology like the Annex 19 of ICAO, Safety Management System. Let's put all things together, do another thing from aviation, which is MSG3 methodology, and try to figure out what is the best solution. So with the SMS MSG3, I figured out that this was the solution. Consult the authorities, consult the industry if this was a valid solution. Everybody said yes, and here we are solving problems in aviation to make the life of everybody simple.
Yeah, I very, very much agree with you, with that passion for those things that are, for us. And I can tell that when we work together is to see your passion toward helping to solve problems, in the industry. So thank you so much. Luis, thanks for joining us today. And thank you for agreeing to do a follow-up session next Wednesday. And I'm looking forward to seeing you online. Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, good. Very good. Okay. Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for being here with us today. I appreciate your following us, and I look forward to seeing you next Wednesday.